Assalamu alaikum, my fellow fish lovers. Hope you're all doing good. Right, so today I'm going to talk about how to prepare a salt water solution for treating your freshwater fish. Right, I've got around 200 grams of salt, as you can see. But first, you need to defrost your fish. Okay, jokes aside, let's talk about why salt isn't the best option to treat your fish. I'm just gonna go over a few common diseases that people do use salt for, and then I'm gonna explain to you why there are certain medicines or certain other treatments that you can use. I'm gonna go with three main diseases, right? It's gonna be ammonia burns, fin rot, and ick. And even though each of them are different, you'll see how they have the same common factor and how they have pretty much the same treatment. And I'm not even talking about, spending loads and loads of like thousands and thousands of rupees on getting expensive medicines. It's just common like early signs that you need to catch on to so you can start feeding your fish, right? And after I'm done, you'll see, you'll understand why salt doesn't work. So the first thing I'm going to talk about is ammonia burns. Why does it happen? What happens to your fish when they get ammonia burned? Okay, so ammonia burn is generally categorized as a chemical burn. So ammonia, as you know, is toxic, right? And ये आपके tank में आता है जब उसके अंदर matter decompose हो रहा हो. So when you have leaves or food or poop just decomposing in the tank, उसकी वजह से होता है कि over time it starts breaking down and starts releasing ammonia जो आपके पानी के अंदर mix होता है और आपकी fish को उसके toxic effect feel होना शुरू हो जाता है. So there are a couple of signs that you need to look out for. Number one, आपकी fish का color pale हो जाएगा. But that's just the first sign, right? It only gets worse from there. What's going to happen next is कि उनकी eyes के ऊपर you'll start seeing कि उनकी eyes के ऊपर white patches बनना शुरू हो गए and they'll start going blind. Or you'll see वो उनके ना gills बहुत जल्दी move कर रहे होंगे या फिर बहुत जल्दी वो breathe कर रही होंगी. You'll see them like coming up to the surface and they'll start breathing very fast. Commonly koi owners or goldfish owners, you'll understand what I'm talking about. Another thing you will start seeing is कि उनके fins थोड़े थोड़े rip apart होना शुरू हो जाएंगे. Or this is probably the last sign that you'll see before your fish dies. उसके ऊपर red patches बन जाएंगे. You'll see red spots on your fish near the gills or on their fins, like near the fins on the skin. Yeah, but you'll see like entire like scales just like up, जो उड़ चुके होंगे उसके ऊपर से. So that's exactly what a chemical burn does. It's like if you drop like a drop of acid on your skin, तो आपको जो feeling होती है, that's exactly what ammonia is doing. And the number one cause for ammonia burn is you do not change the water in your tank. Change it. Don't wait for it. Honestly, the longer you wait, the worse it gets. Ammonia आपके tank में आती ही decomposed matter की वजह से. And you think your fish in the tank won't poop? या जो आप उनको खाना डालते, that's not going to break down over time. Each day you feed, you're just like adding ammonia to the tank. And even though there's bacteria in there, it still won't be able to keep up with it. Another reason why people get like उनकी मछलियों के ऊपर ammonia burn इसलिए होता है because the tank isn't cycled. Cycling से होता है कि you have beneficial bacteria in your tank और जब खाना डलता है the bacteria breaks it down and they sort of initiate the process of ammonia burn. They actually are like they're responsible for consuming ammonia, but if you overload it with fish and the bacteria hasn't caught up with it, so there's this ammonia spike in your tank and your fish just get burnt in it. So do not throw salt in your tank if your fish have ammonia burn. Please do not throw it. That's literally, अगर आपको वाकई experience करना है how your fish feel whenever you get cut the next time or whenever you get burnt the next time, throw some salt on it. You'll understand exactly how your fish feels and you'll understand how that's not at all beneficial. How do you fix it? Keep on changing water. Maintain a very, very clean water body in your aquarium. That's the number one rule. the more water you change, the cleaner the water body will be, and the lower the ammonia will be, and उसकी वजह से your fish won't get burned. And अगर आपके टैंक में actually ammonia burn हो चुका है, that's an even more important reason. आप लोगों का cuts पड़ रहे हो या burn हुआ, you know what the doctors do. They recommend कि यार इसको साफ रखो, keep the wound clean, right? So just keep the water clean. That's the number one rule you should go for. If the things do get worse, and if you like a new tank owner and आपके ammonia burn नहीं control में आ रहा, then one product that I strongly recommend is stability, right? This has the bacteria that you need to add to your tank, so it starts cleaning up the ammonia, start breaking it down. But that doesn't mean you still you can't change water. You still need to change, you still need to do weekly or bi-weekly water changes. You can't miss these. And by bi-weekly I mean like twice a week, not after 2 weeks. Don't confuse the two terms, right? Another product that I do strongly recommend is Prime. Now this is something by Seachem. Honestly, amazing product. A lot of people think this is just expensive anti-chlorine. I used to think the same. Okay, it's just expensive anti-chlorine, but it's actually not. I did some research on it. ये जो है, this is one of the few water conditioners who have this like ability के वो ammonia lower करते हैं पानी में. So when you change water, like even if you do like a 50% water change, chances are your tank still has ammonia in it. But once you add Prime, it starts breaking down the ammonia even faster. So even though your bacteria is working, but this is something that's helping your bacteria break it down. So these two products, I strongly recommend them. But let's move on to the second disease, fin rot. ये betta fish owners ने ज़्यादा देखा होगा. When your betta has उसकी जो tail होती है, it starts breaking apart, उसके बाद cracks से पड़ जाते हैं, and the betta starts looking really pale, and it starts breathing a little fast, but with some slow भी होती है. You know what I'm talking about. Whenever your fish has these the connection, the joint between their body and the fin, उसके ऊपर inflammation हुई भी होगी, and the fins will be breaking apart. उसके पूरे tears हुए में होंगे और अजीब jaggeds हुई भी होगी. That's fin rot. And it can happen because of a couple of reasons. Number one is your fish got attacked by another tank mate, and it just like ripped through the fins, right? And eventually it developed into an infection. The second thing is that you have a bacteria that's growing on the fin and it's like breaking it apart. Okay, and in both of these conditions, the number one common factor is poor water condition. जब आपके टैंक का पानी गंदा होता है, it's exactly how when you get cut and you have a wound, जो exposed होता है, and उसके ऊपर जब गंद पड़ता है, it starts getting infected. That's exactly the reason why. Your fish doesn't get fin rot because it's hurt. It gets fin rot because it's hurt, and the poor water condition just lets the bacteria grow on it. So how do you treat it? Not by throwing salt, by just maintaining a better water body. Again, I'm going back to the same point as the first one. Maintaining a cleaner water body is probably the most important thing you can do. You don't even need to treat that water with anything unless okay, इसके अंदर बहुत ज़्यादा heavy metals हैं, it's like full of chlorine. But normally people in Pakistan don't get that kind of water, right? Just do your weekly water changes and you'll see how your fish doesn't get affected. And if your fish, Allah na kare, has fin rot, right? So you need to be a better judge. Now there are two ways of treating this. Number one is when you see okay, uske fin rot ho raha hai, you catch it early on. That's when you need to start changing water in your tank. You need to really up the number of times you change water. अगर आप 2 weeks में एक दफ़ा करते थे, do it once a week. Like just keep on doing it. अगर आपको लगता है कि यार you do it once a week but still there's fin rot, increase the frequency of water changes. Do it like after every 2 days, after every 3 days. Just keep on changing water until all the bacteria starts dying off, because all the bacteria in your tank, it feeds on the nitrates and the ammonia that's in the tank water, right? So if you keep the water body clean, it's just gonna end up killing everything that feeds on poor water conditions, और आपकी fish खुद ही recover कर जाएगी. Another thing that you can do is that I generally recommend all people to do is do when the fish gets sick is add ginger juice to the feed they're giving to the fish. Ginger juice improves the metabolism of a fish और उसको वो provoke करे कि वो ज़्यादा खाना खाए, ज़्यादा active हो. You can even increase the temperature in your tank. Just check what fish you're keeping, because each fish has its own high end and low end, right? Just check the boundary, and अगर उसके अंदर आता है, just increase that temperature so the fish becomes active and it starts eating again. Because a healthy fish eats, and when it eats, its own body helps it fight all the infections. So 2 things to treat fin rot. Number 1, please keep a clean tank. Number 2, if you have it and if it's worse, use ginger juice to feed your fish so it recovers, right? But in case things do get worse, when you start seeing like it's not recovering, bilkul pale hoti ja rahi hai, and the fins keep on ripping apart no matter how much water you change, then I recommend going for something very strong. Again, a lot of people won't agree to this, but this is something that I've used and it's helped my discus recover from a very bad case of fin rot. And honestly, it was my fault because I delayed the water change by 3 days. That's all. Literally 3 दिन मैंने पानी delay किया था water change, and one of them started getting fin rot, the other one started getting those white eyes, and उसके बाद I got this item. It's called Paragard, again by CChem. I wish I could get paid by CChem. Honestly, I wish I could get paid by CChem. But this is antibiotic treatment. Okay. If your tank is established, do not put this in your tank. Please do not put this in an established tank. Okay? If your fin rot has like attached itself to other fish, yeah, that's when you start treating the entire tank. But no, okay, Paragard is probably gonna kill all the bacteria in your tank. It's probably gonna kill a lot of things in your tank. Okay? So this is something that you have to be very cautious about. The way I use it is I do इसकी recommended dosage है, I strictly follow it. ठीक है? You need to, I generally, when I'm giving Paragard, I usually do between like 5 to 7 days of treatment. I think I got this back in 2019, and it's still half full. I've barely used it because a little goes a long way, and I just follow the instructions they have on the back. And उसके साथ I just couple it with water changes. I think I gave a 7-day treatment to my discus, and like each day I kept on changing water by 20%, 10-20% each day, and they got better. And honestly, like more than this, I think this just stopped the disease from spreading. It was the continuous water changes that helped them get better. Now we're going to talk about ick. This is probably going to be a little complicated for you guys to understand, because you can't just treat ick ऐसे. आप नमक पेकर उसको नहीं treat कर सकते, because ick has a very specific time window when you can treat it. So ick is temperature dependent, right? So that's when a fish gets ick. A lot of people are like, पानी की temperature 30 degree कर दो, उसे कम ना करना. And they're like, high temperature ick को मार देगा, high temperature ick को मार देगा. Ick high temperature से नहीं मरती. You need to understand how ick works. Okay? So ick generally comes into your tank by like either another fish coming in, being like a pollutant. एक गंदी मछली पूरे तालाब को गंदा करती है, and that's how it spreads. Another reason could be कि आपने एक ही net 2 tanks में use किए, एक ही equipment 2 tanks में use किए. Like at times you honestly आप एक tank के अंदर fix करेंगे, it's gonna attach to your hand. You won't even know, because वो आपको नहीं hurt करेगी, ठीक है? And then you're gonna move your arms to another tank, and उसके अंदर spread कर जाएगी. And honestly, I've seen it happen कि the first tank जिसके अंदर एक थी, none of the fish showed any signs. And जब मैंने वही अपने tank की चीज़ें दूसरे tank में move की, and that was like when I was very noob at keeping aquariums. मैंने जब उसमें move की, my fish, all of them got ick. मुझे समझ नहीं है कैसा हुआ. And I had to do some study on it. to actually understand कि यार egg किस तरह contagious होती है. Honestly, egg is probably the most successful parasite, and that's why you keep on seeing it being recurred in every other shipment. Okay, so egg has a very specific life cycle. So when a fish has egg, what you see is like a couple of white spots on its fins, a couple of them on the body, but you can't attack them then. You can't start treating egg then, because उस वक्त they have this protection layer on them, and it's like a shell, it's like a balloon over them, and उसके through कोई antibiotic, कोई नमक, कोई high temperature नहीं उनको affect करता, because they've evolved for years, from millions of years, to be this good. ठीक है. So जब वो होता है, you think कि यार मैं treatment डाल रहा हूँ, सब हो जाएगा, you raise the temperature, ठीक है, but all you're doing is कि by raising the temperatures कि you're just making them reproduce faster, and the process of the reproduction is कि जब एक fish की surface पर होती है, what's gonna happen next is that some part of those few spots is gonna break off, go to the bottom of your tank, and that's where they're going to start multiplying. And उधर जाके फिर भी यही होगा, they'll have a balloon over them, and उधर they'll just keep on multiplying. Doesn't matter how much like temperature raise you do or how much chemical you throw in, it's still going to they're just going to multiply under that under the protection of that bubble. And once that their numbers have grown significantly, like hundreds and thousands of these like parasites growing under that bubble, it's gonna explode, and all those egg parasites are just gonna go everywhere in your tank. Like they're going to be on the glass, on the fish, everywhere. And that is the phase when you attack the fish, when you attack it. Between it, between that shell opening up and that egg going out and latching onto the fish, that's the point when you start treating it. But you don't know when that's going to happen. And egg has about like a 24 to 48 hour window to get through that process. And uske darmiyan mein they're still latched onto your fish, and they're still growing on there. So you can't just dump chemicals in it and expect it bas magically sab kuch khatam ho jaye. It takes time. So now that you understand how it works and how it's multiplying in your tank, let's talk about how you can treat it. Okay, let's just like get to the bottom line. Okay, so the first thing in the treatment is you raise the water temperature to as much as the fish can withstand. So say you have a goldfish. Goldfish don't generally prefer temperatures around 30 degrees, but what that's going to do is it's going to increase the rate of reproduction. Okay? And yeah, at 30 degrees वो जल्दी reproduce करते हैं, and at low, and that means कि the duration of the treatment is going to be lesser. But with goldfish, the treatment will be slightly longer. It's going to go for like a couple of weeks maybe. And that's the first thing you do. You just raise the temperature, and your objective there is to get them to reproduce faster ताकि आप जल्दी उस window को meet करो. ठीक है? The second stage is, and this is probably something that I think works even better than adding any kind of like chemicals to the tank, is you start siphoning. Again, remember the point where the egg breaks off and lands onto the surface of your tank substrate where it's multiplying, right? So even though you can't treat it, but you can still siphon it, and that I think works even better than like adding any kind of treatment into your tank. And you just like keep on siphoning through it, और जहाँ भी उसके वो clumps बने हुए होंगे, वो आप उसे जब siphon करोगे वो सारे सकात हो जाएंगे. ठीक है? And if you do regular siphoning, there is a better chance of you sucking them all out. Step number 3 of treating egg is egg generally latches onto your fish, and as it's growing, it's feeding onto the surface. And it's like breaking through that barrier of the skin. It's getting to the meat, and eventually what's going to happen is that they're going to grow in number, and वो fish के gills के साथ latch on करेगी, and either the fish is going to suffocate, right, or they just get to the meat of it, and the fish is going to die because वो withstand नहीं कर सकेगी. And normally when fish do get egg, you see them कि वो बहुत lazy हो जाती हैं, they just like sit in a corner, they don't swim around a lot. So that's something that we can fix. Again, what I recommend is you use ginger juice with your feed. उससे ये होगा कि the metabolism is going to increase. The fish will be more enticed with eating. Again, high temperatures, उससे भी ये होगा, the fish is going to eat more, it's going to get a little active. So you're just sort of attacking the symptom then. Again, that's not entirely a way of treating ick, but that's still you helping the fish out. Alright, so now you're on to the last part. You've done the first two, you're doing water changes, you're siphoning to the surface, you've increased the temperature because you want it to reproduce faster ताकि आप उसे siphon करके suck up कर लो. But still it's not ending. Then what do? Then instead of going for salt, because again remember the the skin on the surface of the fish is going to be open. It's like an open wound, and you do not want to throw namak on a zakham. Please don't do that. So uske liye I'd again recommend going for Paragard. Trust me, this is probably the best like antibacterial medicine I have. Works like a charm. Well, now you know how it works and how you can treat it. And I feel like I'm repeating myself, but it's so important to quarantine your fish. You have no idea. It's just so important. You have no idea. But yeah, other than that, now you know how to treat the three different, like the three most common fish diseases that everyone's facing, and you also know why I personally will never suggest anyone to use salt. And another thing that you need to understand is, well, when you're treating with salt, one thing is that especially for those guys who are adding salt to the main tank, understand that if I add salt to my tank, it's not gonna go out. मैं एक दफ़ा पानी change करूँगा, the salt is still gonna be in there. जब मैं दोबारा पानी change करूँगा, I still won't know whether it's out, and I'll keep on checking the salinity of it. It's generally very hard to get rid of the salt then. And remember, like salt's gonna attach to the gills of your fish. It's gonna make it super hard for it to breathe. You're changing the chemical composition of the water. A fresh water का आप salt treat करवा रहे हैं. I mean, that won't make sense. There are people who do salt baths. I'm okay with those, but then again, I still have a little problem, because I personally think that once you do move that fish back into your main tank, it's gonna bring salt with it, and again वही होगा कि it's gonna start hurting other fish. बिल्कुल ऐसा होगा जैसे टैंक के अंदर किसी मशीन ने प्याज काट कर रखा है और सबकी आंखें स्टिंग कर रही होंगी. You don't want that. And one thing that I personally want to suggest everyone is that I always say, don't start treating unless you understand what you're treating, and that's very important. I won't even ask you to get Paragard, but like na le Paragard. Like don't treat your fish if you don't know what the problem is, because I've read in a few comments लोग कहते हैं कि whenever you do water change, throw some salt in there. जो भी बैक्टीरिया होगा मर जाएगा. लेकिन याद रखें कि इवन जो डेटॉल की ऐड होती है और सभी जो भी लाइक हार्ड क्लीनर्स होते हैं, इवन स्वीप के बारे में भी ये कि इट किल्स 99.99999% ऑफ द बैक्टीरिया, लेकिन जो 0.0001% जो होता है ना, और अगर वो बच जाए तो it's gonna grow, and the next time you treat it, it's not gonna die, because it didn't die. It's sort of immune, it's resistant to that treatment. So every time you throw salt in it, आप उसकी immunity बढ़ा रहे हो, and eventually what's gonna happen is कि it's gonna get so strong कि आप जितना भी उसके अंदर literally आप एक मुट्ठी के बजाय आप उसके अंदर पूरी बोरी उल्टा दो salt की, that bacteria isn't gonna die. And it's the same for antibacterial medicines. It's same for everything that you use to treat your fish. Okay, don't use it recklessly. Specifically avoid using salt, but when it comes to other medicines, don't use them recklessly. Understand what you're trying to treat. I could have made this video very short, and I could have just like snapped onto ये medicine है इस चीज़ के लिए, medicine है इस चीज़ के लिए, medicine है इस चीज़ के लिए, अल्लाह हाफ़िज़. But I want you to understand कि आप treat क्या कर रहे हो. Fin rot, ammonia burn, ये तीनों बहुत common है, but लोगों को नहीं पता उनको क्या ट्रीट करना है. I hope after you watch this video you understand the gist of the disease. लेकिन आपको पता होना चाहिए आप कौन सी बीमारी को ट्रीट कर रहे हो. बीमारी को समझो और फिर उसे treat करो. Yeah, that's all from me. If you guys have other diseases that you want me to discuss, if you think you're specifically struggling with something, okay, your tank has this like new tank syndrome even after like running for 2 years or something, yeah, drop me a message. I'll talk to you personally. If you think you just want to run it by me, or you want to discuss it, that's what the community is for. But even if you want to have a one-on-one discussion with me, drop me a message and I'll be more than happy to have a conversation with you. Alright guys, that's all from me. Take care. Allah Hafiz.